This episode of the ABIC podcast is brought to you by INSKIN Cosmetics. Hello and welcome to the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Here, we're strengthening and unifying the industry through representation, innovation, and education. This is a platform created and dedicated to the aesthetic and beauty industry, valuing unity and advancement. We serve to represent, support, and inspire you by connecting you with industry experts, expanding your knowledge through educational pieces, and bringing you the latest industry news. This is the ABIC podcast. If you've ever wondered how to combine science, soul, and strategy to create a cult beauty brand, well, you're about to meet the woman who's mastered it 3 times over. I'm your host, Stephanie Miller, and today's episode features a true pioneer. Maria Enna Coccioloni is a name synonymous with innovation, integrity, and impact in the professional beauty industry. With over 40 years of experience across aesthetics, education, business development, and leadership, Maria isn't just a part of the industry. She's helped shape it. As the founder and CEO of INSKIN Cosmetics, Maria launched a portfolio of respected, professionally exclusive brands, O Cosmetics, Ginger & Me, and INSKIN Co., becoming the only Australian icon to create 3 professional skincare brands from the ground up. Now, Maria is set to take her vision global, expanding her brands internationally, one country, one skin at a time. But her story goes far beyond business success. Maria is also one of the founding councillors of the Aesthetic and Beauty Industry Council and a fierce advocate for purpose-driven growth, female entrepreneurship, and brand empowerment, with compassion and authenticity at the core. In this episode, Maria joins us to unpack the evolving concept of Masstige, where luxury meets accessibility, and why it's transforming the professional beauty space. She shares the highs, the heartbreaks, and the hard-earned wisdom behind building brands that last while staying true to your mission and values. Whether you're a clinic owner, skin therapist, brand builder, or beauty enthusiast, this episode is your insight into purpose-led success. So, settle in because you're about to learn from one of the very best in the business. Welcome back to the podcast, Maria. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me, Steph.
Oh, you're very welcome. I always loved having you on the podcast because it feels like we're having a good old chat.
Yeah.
Everybody's privy and listening to it.
Like that, isn't it? Yeah, we go back
It
such a
really
long
is.
way, and there's always so much to talk about. I love our conversations because you inspire me, and I know that you always say that you get things from me, and it's sort of like it's a really good chat that you come away thinking, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah, I feel like everybody thinks that way too, though. When I've heard like feedback from listening to the ABIC podcast and listening to our discussions, and they're like, I had sparks of inspiration afterwards. That you guys talked about something, and all of a sudden it unlocked a piece of the puzzle, and just listening to other people's journey can do that. And we're going to start by always asking the same question: how did you come into the beauty industry? But I'm not going to say that because we've had you on so many times, and really truly everyone knows who you are and how you came to be in it. The question I think we'll start with today, Marie, is you have built a huge business empire in Australia, and now you're venturing out to the world. There's a lot of us out there looking at that journey as, hey, that's an example to follow for ourselves. And there's so many entrepreneurs, budding entrepreneurs, people who've got businesses. There's so many people coming into the industry and setting up their clinic salons and spas. And there's so many people on their journey to exit. I think the people that are in between that perhaps there are some that are struggling. We've seen through ABIC, some business closures and some reopen. We're talking to the people that are right in the middle of their journey or just starting out and thinking, I need to persevere here. We've got some challenges. We are talking about your brand and how you're growing it. But before we start, please tell us,
how are you always so positive, so inspirational, and persevering through your business journey? Have you had any challenges to overcome? And if so, please share them with us and how you did.
Oh, it's such a loaded question, Seth. But at the end of the day, I have lots of little sayings and mottos and philosophies and little sayings that I live by. And one of them is that there is an element of shit in every day. So the goal of the day is that, hopefully you can like overstep that. Yeah, you can step over the shit. And sometimes you go and step over it and your heel lands in it. And other times you trip over and you fall flat face in the shit. So you've just got to wake up every day and go, there's going to be shit in my day. It's just how I handle this. And like, sometimes the day starts, it's like everything looks really cool. And then you go, and there it is. There's that shit moment or that shit scenario, that shit, whatever it might be. So I think you've just got to be prepared that you're not in control of your day. And, INSKIN Cosmetics now, the ICG group, there's about 80 employees in the group, and we're over 2 different sites. So we've got Smeaton Grange, where we research, develop, manufacture the brands, and for other people as well. And then we've got here at Sydney Olympic Park, where we do, the finance and the marketing, the education, the sales, the customer experience, and the dispatch. The warehouse is here as well. So when you have other people in your world, I can sort of control my day, but I can't control what's happening in everybody else's moments. And so there's going to be stuff that happens. And then that's like your internal challenges that are happening every single day. The external, there's just way too many to mention. Like when you manufacture, for instance, happened to us last week, it was brought to my attention that one of our new and improved formulations was going to be 8 weeks delayed. And I was like, I don't understand. When did we order that raw material? We ordered it in December of last year. So in November of last year. So I go December, January, February, March. So what's the 8 weeks? That's another 2 months. That's 5 months for a raw. Oh, there were some issues on their end. It's like, no issues on their end at 3 months. We're 3 months in, we ring up, we speak to the managing director, and we find out what they can do to get even some of that ingredient so that INSKIN's not going to be out of stock. And so we made that call. The product arrived in 3 days. Funny that, from another 8 weeks, 3 days. And yesterday we manufactured. So that the ramifications of like this domino effect to one little problem here goes like from the manufacturing plant, comes into INSKIN, comes into the sales process or the lack of sales. And there's issues everywhere. It makes people unhappy. Our partners are sad. Our customers are calling out for the product. So you've just got to be ready that there are going to be problems in multiple aspects of your business, right? Today's problem is not an employee problem. Tomorrow's problem is not a raw material problem. The next day's problem is not a cash flow problem. The next day's problem is not you can have all those problems in one day. But I truly believe, to answer your question, Steph, that all of it happens here. It is a mindset. It is a mindset thing. So if you let the problems start to weigh and weigh and weigh and weigh and weigh, by the end of the day, you're defeated. So the next morning, so the chances are that you go to bed defeated. You've got so much happening, you're not sleeping. You're not sleeping, you wake up in the morning and you're semi-defeated to start the new day. And that's where the problem lies. So for me, I am a problem solution person. So if I'm walking around, I see a problem, I go, what's going on here? And they go, right, so what's the solution to that? And they go, that's the solution. I go, great, okay, so how long is it going to be that we're going to implement that solution? How long is it before we can make a call to that managing director and find out why that raw material is nowhere to be seen for another 8 weeks? What is going on with this? And so the solution, and then I stay until we get that solution operational, and then we can move on. It's the people side of things as well. It's like, someone will say this and then I'll hear this. I go, no, you guys, you're saying exactly the same thing. You need to sit down, you need to talk this through, you need to work this out, and when people sit front on and they're open and honest and transparent, problem gone. Employees got a problem with the employer, like, come talk to me. Like, employers, give your staff the opportunity to give you feedback, to share with you, like without reprimanding or retribution. Like, what is it that you need to do? I did my reflections with my team so late, not so, like, disgusting. Like the board meetings is like, has everyone finished their performance appraisal? We call them reflections, everyone except for the CEO. So we go into the board.
Reflection of how busy you are.
I know, but wrong, right? So I sit down. I've got 4 people currently that department managers that answer into me, and by the end of the day, like whilst there was lots of things that were raised, we had solutions for basically everything. I was empowered by the problems. It's like, yes, okay, fantastic. So oh, it's funny that you said that. Someone else said that today. So this is what we're going to do. And so when people say to me, Maria, when you started, did you ever think you were going to fail? Absolutely not. I told myself there was no room for failure.
Right. Why is that?
Because there
What is
was no
that
room for
part?
failure. I had put our family livelihood on the line. So when I started INSKIN Cosmetics, I started importing other people's brands. So you might remember I started with Circuit Skin and I had Imogen C,
Emergency, yeah.
right? And I had to invest into those brands. Those brands were not known in those days. Like the advertising was all through your professional magazines. I had to employ staff to get on the road. And then I was very aware of the sense of responsibility with every staff member that I employed. So I sort of started with this livelihood of my family. Like, we could lose our home if things didn't go well. And then I take on the staff member and go, oh my God, if this person loses their job, I'm going to be responsible.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
And
isn't it?
now I carry the weight of 80 people and the responsibility of 80 people, because if something was to go wrong, all these people's livelihoods would be, I'm sure they'd all get a job tomorrow. They're all gems, and employ amazing people. But at the end of the day, it would really sort of disrupt and interrupt a lot of lives. And so I'm very aware of that. So there is no room for failure. And then, Steph, come COVID, if I ever needed to, check in to the sort of person that I was, then COVID was it. Because for me, one of our Melbourne clients rang me on a Sunday. I was having a family barbecue. She said, oh, Maria, it looks like this week they're going to close the clinics down. And I just want you to know that whatever I owe you, I'm good for it. Like, I'm going to pay you that money back. And I was like, oh my God. So obviously she was listening to news that I wasn't listening to while I was with family over. And so when I got on top of everything that was happening, I was like, if clinics close this week, I only sell to clinics. We didn't have a presence online like we have today. And then I couldn't go online because I'd made this commitment to the industry that I was always going to protect my partners. Shit, what am I going to do? And then I go to bed, I wake up in the morning and I go, right. So if businesses close, their doors are going to close, but the business is not going to close. And that's how I came out of the gates. The first thing when our business closed, I went onto the INSKIN pop page, our trade page, and I said, last night, your doors closed. Your business did not. And here I went, bang, 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 bang. And people still come up to me today. It's so beautiful and say, I've never had a chance to say this to you. Like even at Tuesday's menopause course last week, someone came up to me and said, I've never had a chance to say this to you personally. I just want to say thank you. If not for you, I wouldn't be here today. And that's means so much to me, because I don't realize that my energy impacted other people. And they were like, right, Maria says that the doors closed, the business didn't close, and now she wants us to, put our website stores up. And she wants us to do consultations online, and she wants clients to bring in what they've got at home and show us what they've got, and then help them to put their skin solutions together, what they should be using at home, how they can do DIY treatments in the interim of the clinics being closed. Who knew that Melbourne was going to be closed for 1 year? Like, what about the customer? What about your patients? We can't leave them. And so lots of our partners came out like the profitability of their business being closed was mind-blowing. But INSKIN came out of the COVID, the pandemic, like 3-4 times bigger than what we went in.
Really, that's an
Yeah.
inspirational story, because
Yeah.
it's incredible how you can look at the same problem and say, well, this is going to impact me negatively. And then another person can look at the same problem and go, this is actually an opportunity. That's when you were talking, bringing it back to mindset and seeing everything like either an opportunity or a loss or a risk.
Absolutely. But exactly. Being aware of the impact. So for me, one thing was what was happening to us, the business owners, like the risk of what could happen as business owners. The next thing was the INSKIN family and the people that we employ. Like that was devastating because, you know, not everybody has, you know, I grew up always being taught, you know, to have your savings for a rainy day, but that's not a thing as much today. So some people live on their pay packets week to week. So that was really frightening for me. And then I had the responsibility of the clinics and to some extent the industry, you know. So for me, it was like, okay, what can we do to help them? Obviously, we can put the strategies in place, but what else can we do to support our partners? What do they need? Most people just need a hug. So the one thing that you couldn't give in COVID was a hug, right? But we could be in everybody's house every day. So we have on our INSKIN Pop page, we started a thing called Shoots at 12. And I made a commitment to our partners that every day at 12 o'clock, we would be in your home. Now, you could be rocking underneath the dining table if that's what is that, if that's where you are at, like, you know, rocking and scared to death about your future. You can have the sheets over your head, but just listen. Listen every day at 12, and we're going to bring something to you that will be inspiring and will help you to keep your mind off what's happening and what could be happening. Stay real, stay present, and work on your business, build your business, because the other option is that rock under the table, put the sheets over your head, but everyone else is working their business. So when you come out of COVID, you're here, back here, because you haven't done anything to look after your customers. And these guys have, and you've probably lost your customers to them. So there were some real sort of reality checks. And the other thing that I learned was that I work well under problems. I'm just that solutions-driven person. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to do this. We're going to do this. The other thing that I learned, there was not one person in my business, including my very vocal family on many occasions, that no one said to me, like, you can't go into people's houses at 12 o'clock every day. How are we going to find content to do that? People said, what can I do to help you? And so when INSKIN stepped forward, like when I threw the ideas out there, I wasn't here and the INSKIN team were behind me. I was here and they were beside me. And what I learned was, as we stepped forward, we did like an army. We stepped through as an army. So we were strong and solid, and we were able to support people to get through the pandemic. And that's why people say now, oh my God, I couldn't have done this without you. And so our BDMs continued their servicing of the partners. They didn't leave anyone on their own. Sure, some people didn't respond. Some people really found it hard to get out of bed, but we didn't stop calling. We didn't stop SMSing. We didn't stop emailing. We didn't stop the INSKIN Pop lives, and they were lives every day at 12. And the educations, we did loads of education. So it really is. I know that some people will go like, it's not that easy, Maria. Like, I know that people that don't have that same philosophy, it's like, no, it's not that easy. It is that easy if you have a mentality of finding the answers. But so many of the questions and the concerns that clinic owners have, the answers are within their team. But how many clinic owners don't look within? Because they're scared to, like, you know, like when you do the reflections, when you do the appraisals, when they give you a problem, yes, it's easy to get defensive and go, no, I try so hard, I work so hard, this is not fair. But listen to what your people have to say, because the answers to most of your problems and concerns are there. You know, you've got a cash flow problem, you've got rebooking problems, you've got conversion problems. Ask the team what is stopping them, what is standing in the way of them hitting these goals, of hitting their KPIs. The answers are under your nose. They really and truly are. And then, of course, you've got ABIC. You know, we can see that there are partners that really get what ABIC stands for. I was telling you about some employee issues before, and you said, Maria, don't forget that you've got ABIC. Absolutely. Absolutely. To know that if I can't handle something and I can call ABIC, that is just incredible, because it is an association that is working in the industry, the relevant industry. You know, so people have just got to, like, salon owners, clinic owners, managers, you're not on your own. You know, I have amazing people around me. You know, I can call you, Steph, and get an opinion, and I go, oh, okay, that's awesome. But you call the people that can make a difference. My leadership team, you know, even now that we've got a board, the board meeting should be just the executive board members, right? I thought obviously there's non-executives as well, but it should be just the key people. My board meeting, I have the national sales manager, the head of finance, and the marketing manager. No one does that. And I said to them, why am I coming to present to you what they're doing? It's their work, it's their stories. Get it firsthand, you know. And they go, no one does that. Well, I don't care what everybody else does.
Break the mold.
Break the mold. But this is us. Like, yes, I'm the CEO. I've never felt more like the CEO than when ABGF came into the business. But I don't want anyone to change what I stand for and the culture. So say, hey, this is us. No one
So you
says,
be true
no,
to
no.
yourself as well.
Yeah, be
You
true.
know what I hear what you're saying as well. You're going to the people around you. You are fortunate now to have this big team, but you didn't start off with the big team, right? And a lot of people that are listening to this now going, oh yeah, but I don't have a big team. I don't have people. Let's hold on one second. Marie didn't come from sure. You weren't. INSKIN wasn't born with a big team.
I was the team.
That's right.
There's a story of, I think it might be on our website. The role changed depending on the shoes. So if I was wearing heels, which I did way more then, it was like an entrepreneur role. It was either, you know, the BDM or the marketing person or the education person or the customer service. But if I was wearing flats, then I was the warehouse and distribution, because I did all that myself.
You did that yourself. You picked and packed.
I picked and packed from my garage. And so you're absolutely right, Steph. It can be just you. And if the mindset is strong, then you're not going to let yourself down. So many people self-sabotage. So many people spend so much time in their head overthinking, bringing themselves down. Like, how many people do I hear speak like, you know, yeah, look, I feel like an imposter, or I don't deserve this. Like, I'm sorry, you don't need anyone else to fight with, because you're fighting with yourself. Why would you not back yourself? You know, I've got a couple of friends that are doing some startups at the moment. It's like, oh, I'm not sure. You have to be sure. What aren't you sure about? I'm not sure about my story. Well, don't keep going if you don't get your story right. What do you stand for? What is your point of difference? Like, you can't start things that, how many people say to me, I want to start a skincare brand. I go, excellent. What's your point of difference? Like, oh, I'm going to do anti-aging. Okay, what's your point of difference? I'm going to have like correctors and hydrators, and I'm going to do like.
They come to you when they want to start a skincare brand, Marie.
Yeah, I'll get some really great ones. So now in the manufacturing lab, I have been working with some people on their brands, when they're very lucky when they get me, because I do this like, and what's your point of difference? Before we had we've always had the lab.
Mentor them, or you partner with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We
Just
bring
altruistically mentor them, or do you partner with them?
well, we collaborate with
Bit of
them.
both.
So yeah, so someone might say to me, you know, I want to build this brand and I want it to be this. And then, like, my big thing is always like, what's your point of difference? Why are people going to buy your brand? People don't know that, you know, well, I just want to own my own brand, or I just want to be my own boss. Like, why do you want to be your own boss? You do realize that when you're a boss, you've got more bosses in your life than you've ever had.
Yeah. Oh,
I've
yeah.
got so many bosses in my life.
Oh, same. My staff at
Oh
like,
my
with
God.
the clinics, at one stage, the most I think I've ever managed them we had in our teams about 130.
Oh,
And I had 130 bosses.
130 bosses.
Yep.
People
Literally.
don't realize that. My hairdresser was telling me the other day, she's got a 3-year-old son, and she said that he's looking for his new school, and she said that they came out of the open day, and he said, Mummy, why aren't you a teacher? And she goes, well, no, I want to be a teacher. She goes, if you're a teacher, you could have been my teacher. She said, well, I'm a hairdresser and I can do your hair. And he goes, well, that's not very cool. And she goes, right, okay. And she says, well, what do you want to do, Andre? What do you want to do when you grow? She goes, so I'm going to be a boss. And she said, why do you want to be a boss? And he said, because I'm just going to tell everyone what to do.
Oh, yeah.
And she said to him, it doesn't work that way, Andre. Like, you know, but when you have people working under you, you've got a lot of bosses in your life. I've got lots of people telling you what to do and asking you for the things that they want. And he goes, oh, I don't want to be a boss anymore, Mum. So
if someone had told me that, you know, it's so funny because I walk into the clinics and they're like, oh, this is my boss. And I'm like, am I really though? Are
yeah,
you the one that's telling me what to do, or is it the
when people go, I work for Maria, I go, no, we work together. I work with Maria. Like, because really the chain of command is just it's rubbish. Like, you know, there's so many, and look,
It
we
is
employ
rubbish.
people, yeah, we employ people that are thinking people that have got ideas and thoughts, and I'm very open to all that sort of stuff. So the more you entertain it, the more feedback you're going to get, right? So it's just really important that you are really strong in what you stand for. What does happen, like when you work alone, as long as your mentality is strong and you know what you stand for, then you build on that strength. You build on that becomes like a pillar of strength. But look, even today, I can have people that come into my business that come from, you know, they've got as much experience as me in maybe other areas, and say, oh, have you thought of doing this? Have you thought of doing this? Have you thought? If I accepted all those, like these ideas, then I wouldn't even recognize my brands anymore, because the story of the brands, O turns 15 this year. I can't go, you know what? It's 15 years is a long time. Let's change the story. The story is the story. Like, you know, if someone says to me, tell me your story, Maria, I could forget my story, the real story, and make it up to sound like it's amazing, but it's not real. So, you know, the pillars that each of my 3 brands were built on, that story can never change. And you know, Cassandra, my daughter, says to me, like, that I use this word. She said, I've never heard anyone use the word like you, Mum, dilution. I go, if I was to take that on, that would dilute what my brand stands for. If I was to do that, that would dilute my story, and the strength of the story would be lost. So you do need to write things down, and maybe people do, you know how some people write affirmations on their mirrors, and like, put up these really important points that remind you why you started the business, what you stand for, what your vision is, what your purpose is, and read them every day. And don't forget, for me, I know that I have got no room for negativity. Like, I'll get in a situation sometimes and it's something really negative, and it can be a personal thing, because professionally everybody sort of, we know how this story works here. You know, we problem solution. Don't come to me with a problem without a solution, you know. But sometimes it could be personal, and I am aware that I lose my cool really quickly when we're harping on the problem. Okay, let's put the problem on the table and let's find the solution. And when you know, there's always those people that draw it back to the problem,
Yes.
All right, guys, enough. We understand what the problem is. What is the solution? What is the action that needs to be taken? Who's going to do what? And when are we going to re-adjourn to make sure that we've got this covered and we're moving forward?
And I love how you said, what is the story? And it doesn't change. Today, really, you're on to talk about Masstige and talking about a whole new brand that you've created, which is INSKIN Co. And on that same line, you've got 3 different and separate stories for each of your brands. Now, let's bring it around to the topic of INSKIN Co and Masstige. Applying everything that you've just said, what possessed you to go, I'm going to start a new brand? And what is that brand story? And what is Masstige? Really?
Yeah, so Masstige is something that was a word that I picked up in the UK a couple of years ago. So I always had this idea for INSKIN Co. And again, did I have a name for it? No, I didn't have a name for it. Naming a brand is like the hardest thing that you'll ever have to do. Ultimately ended up being INSKIN Co. But what was the idea behind INSKIN Co? I think the realization that not one brand can be all things to all people. Sure, having a manufacturing plan, having a cosmetic chemist at my fingertips, being able to understand what the consumer is looking for, what our clinics are looking for, being able to understand the consumer journey, the consumer experience. I love that part of it. Like, you know, when people go into Mecca, what is it that they're buying? They're just buying a vibe. They're buying a vibe, they're buying energy. They're not necessarily buying good skincare products, buying great color products, makeup is amazing. But when it comes to skincare, I have a whole different philosophy on what makeup offers when it comes to true results-driven skincare. So at the end of the day, being able to incorporate that vibe in what you do is really important. But for us, it's like, what do we stand for? It's a results-driven skincare journey. And so when you have a brand, like if we take O Cosmetics, is there a problem it can't solve? No, but you need to be open to the active ingredients. You need to be open to initially drip feeding the actives into your skin. I was telling the media yesterday, it's not a brand that is easy to send out to the media because it's so active that they could apply it on the skin, have a reaction or what we call a response, not a reaction because it's waking up all the cellular activity. And then they don't love the brand. The consumer doesn't love the brand because it's too active. It's the big guns of anti-aging. And there's a price point it's not top end, but there is a medium price point that comes with O Cosmetics. And when I co-created Ginger and Me, Neuro Cosmetics, the idea was then, that was like 7-8 years ago, to have like the other side of the price spectrum. And I now know, and Mario, my husband, will tell you, there's nothing cheap about my tastes. And so when I put everything together, we missed the mark on the price point. We didn't miss anything when it came to the formulations and the sophistication and the look and the journey and everything that you need an awesome skincare brand to be, but we missed the price point. And that always stayed with me. I always thought it's different. It's definitely a different price to the O brand. It's like if we've got one sort of medium, this is like medium to low end, but we didn't have the low end price point. And that always stayed with me. And so I wrote a business case about 3-4 years ago. I sent it to my family, and like, I don't know, they get really defensive when they hear me say this, but I don't think they realize that most of the times when I have these great ideas, I'm met with why would you do that? Why would you do that?
I hear it. I'm the same.
Yeah. And so
I hear that all the time. Why would
you?
Yeah,
like I can even do a new product and there'll be people go, no, I don't like it. It doesn't go into the skin well, doesn't absorb. It's not something that I would like. I hate the smell. And so when we do consumer testing, it goes out at 20 people at a time. And I'm lucky because I have the opportunity to go, okay, 18 people love it, 2 don't. What did the 2 people not love about it? So it might be one of the more recent ones that we did is like, no, it's not for my skin, it's not for the climate, it's not for it lives in North Queensland, not a product for you. So you loved everything else, but not something you use, tick, that's a goer. The one other person goes, oh, I got a bit of a reaction from that. Okay, all right. One person got a reaction. Am I happy with that? Because when I put it out into thousands of people, how many people are going to get that reaction? Do we go back and do we tweak it? And then do we see how that tweak works with that one person? And so, we can get this absolutely perfect, right? But we still have a demographics that is not able to buy into professional skincare. And that's not good enough for me. For me, it's like everybody that walks into a clinic should be buying from a clinic. So what is it the thing that primarily stops people, consumers buying in a clinic? Is going to be the price point.
INSKIN Cosmetics is the story of a woman with a dream, her garage, a pair of heels and some flats. In 2007, Maria Anna Coccioloni began INSKIN Cosmetics in her family garage, driven by a dream and unwavering passion for the beauty industry. Starting with just one brand and no clients, she embodied versatility, managing sales, marketing, operations, and logistics in a pair of heels and some flats. Today, INSKIN Cosmetics has evolved into a leading distributor of medical aesthetic products and devices, boasting a powerhouse portfolio including O Cosmetics, Ginger and Me, Dermapen World, and more. Despite its growth, INSKIN Cosmetics stays rooted in Maria's founding values of integrity, family, and gratitude. To learn more, visit www.inskincosmetics.com.au today.
So I couldn't get that out of my head. So when I put that business plan down and my family said, no, you can't do this. I did say the price point would be $50, but that was 4 years ago. So when the time came to actually price it, it's a $55 price point. So that whole Masstige thing is attainable premium quality product.
It's a mass produced
It's
prestige.
a mass,
It's a mass and prestige together.
it's more, there's more people that could buy into this brand than maybe a medium to high end brand. And so when I wrote the story, I came in on a Saturday, and it's like, you've done this before, Steph, I know. And you're sitting at your desk and you start like pushes come to shove now, and they need the story. Nothing else can be done. Your website can't be done, brochures can't be done, nothing can be done if you don't have this story cemented. So I come in on a Saturday and I start writing, and then I go, no, just delete that, just delete that. And then I remembered the Masstige. Okay, so I wrote this story, and for me it was premium and attainable. So my bouncing board is always my family, and they work in my business. So I'm not just going into like, a husband and a daughter and a son and a daughter-in-law and just like, tell me what you guys think. They work in my business, so they've got a good idea. And so I send it out, and my husband sends me, I guess, are you on your way home? Like, I've got dinner reservations. I go, yeah, I'm on my way home. And so I said, I'll call you. It's like, as soon as I get in the car, I'll call you. I'll call and go, did you read my story? He goes, yeah. I said, what did you think? I'm so excited, right? Because I finally posited all this story on paper, and this is where we grow from, right? And he goes, oh, I don't know, I just read it, and like, you didn't mention the word affordable. You didn't say affordable. It's a $55 price point, but you didn't use the word affordable. And that's when, like, this is where you can sort of go, oh, all day I've worked for this. And the first thing I've met with is negative feedback. And I'm like, you're right. I didn't say affordable, Mario, because at the end of the day, if you don't have $55, it's not affordable. Affordable is when someone has the money to buy in. But if you have $55, it's not affordable. What it is, it's attainable. There is more chance that people are going to be able to buy in to this professional skincare brand. And that's my goal, Steph. I say now it's saving one skin, one country at a time. So people, potential distributors come to us, and right now we're only going globally with O Cosmetics because obviously the compliance and the regulations to get into other countries are really quite stringent. And we've taken O through that, and Neuro Cosmetics Ginger Me is on its way to do that. And we haven't done that with INSKIN Co because it's really important that we get the 13 products perfect. So once you go into the marketplace, that can either be as smooth sailing as what you're hoping it to be, or it can be like O Cosmetics. I don't know if you remember this, Steph, but what happened with O was when it went mass and we started to go into a number of clinics and the therapists started to retail O Cosmetics, so it was only retail to begin with. The industry started like, oh my God, you see Maria Coccioloni, she's launched O Cosmetics, and there are reactions everywhere. People,
Like what?
yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, people were reacting everywhere to the brand. Now, as you know, I invented the word cosmetics. I've trademarked that word, and it is now 15 years down the track, or 17 years down the track, because we're INSKIN Cosmetics. But it really found its definition. The definition was clarified when I launched O Cosmetics with a D. And so that was the coming of the cosmetics with the medical. It was like the coining of these two phrases, but the definition was that we were using the active ingredient in its functional dose. Now, I remember thinking that, well, I was using Circuit Skin and I was using Emergen C, and they were telling me that they were like, the claims that they made it out that they were using the functional doses. But it wasn't until I started, and you'll know this as a chemist yourself, Steph, it's not until you start speaking to suppliers that people go, oh, no one really uses the active in
The clinical active dose, yeah.
Exactly. It's like, what do you mean? Like, if
They call you insane. My manufacturer actually said to me, oh, this product is way too expensive to make. Why are you using it in these doses? This is insanity.
Drop it down.
I said,
Drop it down. You can make the same claims, right? So you know this, Steph, right? Drop it down. Like, you don't use 5%, use 0.5%, but you
Yeah.
can still make the same claims. And that's what's wrong with this industry, right?
That's
It's not
right.
regulated like that.
Mm.
And when I started to delve into what was going on, I realized that no one was using the active ingredient in its functional dose. So what we were having was not a reaction, we were having a cellular response. The skin was going like, what the hell? This is too much. This, you're asking me to go back to work. Fibroblasts have to, produce collagen. And the fibroblasts are like, no, I'm sorry, but I gave up on that work 20 years ago. Like, I don't do that anymore. It's like, and then you've got this little active ingredient finding the fibroblasts go, back to work, back to work, back to work, back to work. Eventually the fibroblast goes, she's not going to stop. She's going to keep pushing this shit into my skin, and I'm going to have to just do the work. And so that's when you start getting the results. But the industry had a ball with that. Like, we could do a segment on how many times people tried to stop me from doing what I do. And even I remember the chemist at that time when I first was like, oh my God, we've got all these reactions, until I was able to teach him that they were responses. And he, what he said, exactly what your guy said. He said to me, Maria, I told you this before, pull back on the active ingredients. This is too strong for the skin. But in my, in my technical mind, when you look at the technical specifications of every active ingredient, they have tested the results based on the functional dose. So if I'm going to give the clinics and the consumer the result they're looking for, I have to use the functional dose. But because I'm a chef in this little world, I go, okay, so I meet a distributor that says, so we've got this new ingredient, you use it at 5%, it does that. And then I move on to the next company and the next company. And it's like, this is what people don't do, but people like you and I do. What you do is you go, ooh, what if I took that ingredient from that company, that ingredient from that company, and that ingredient from that company, and I bring them together in their active doses? What would happen then? And that's where the magic happens.
That's the magic, because they're working in symbiosis and they're supporting each other. And the funny thing is, I love what you've just said, because you and I will know that, like, say the active dose is between 3 and 5%, and then you want to mix it with a few others, you can tweak between 3 and 5% to make them work, so that you have a skin response, but it's not so dramatic that you're causing long-term chronic inflammation.
Exactly.
That's what that's why you know what you're doing, because you know the skin.
Our last collection, the Smart Series collection, the reason why we call it Smart Series is between 12 and 13 actives in one product. In one product.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, right. So at the end of the day, Steph, it's like, if you let people say no, if you let people stand in your way, I would not be where I am today. Like, I give the credit, like, you'll know that there's never a conversation that we have that I don't get emotional. And this is the moment. I give the credit for my success to all the people that have been on this journey with me. Like, the bigger the dream, the more important the team, but don't have this team if you're not going to listen to them, if you're not going to bring their ideas on board. If you like, ultimately I make the last decisions. But if I was to have listened to all the no's, I would not be a quarter of my journey. This, Steph, when I told my parents I was going to be a beauty therapist, it was a hard no. And in those days, like 40 years ago, I paid $8,000 to do my course. $8,000. I was that checkout chick and working my little fingers to the bones. None of this scanning stuff that happens today. Working my fingers to the
big
bone.
back when we were like young. That's like
huge.
Was it funded even back then? So you're this young person going, I need to find $8,000. That number one. Then you're this, a little bit more mature person going, I need to find hundreds of thousands to fund my business, and then trusting in yourself so deeply that you could make this happen.
Yes, like O Cosmetics, for instance, that was $1 million investment. It's 15 years ago. But what was the return on the investment? It has continued to grow and continued to grow and continue to grow. And whilst I make it look like it's this like easy flight that this plane's taking off, don't you worry, the air pockets and the turbulences, like.
Really?
Oh my
because
God.
A lot of clinic owners are sitting here, clinic, salon, spa, and I now say always clinic, salon, and spa, because they are, the more that I'm in the beauty and salon and spa industry, the more I realize they are very different beasts, because I come from the clinic.
Yes.
And so now I'm not saying clinic anymore, as I was in this habit. It's clinic, salon, and spa, and they all have these moments of the bottom's coming out of my business now. How do I get this back up? And the bottom comes out hard sometimes.
It comes out hard, absolutely. We like absolutely, and I do make it look like it's easy, because if I'm not that image that people think that, like, if I was to break down every time something was working around me that wasn't working, it wouldn't give people the courage, right? And so I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not, and I'm not safe from the turbulence. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's the way that I deal with things, you know. And even around here, if I'm going to have, if I was to share everything that was going wrong with my team, then their shoulders would start to weigh. I just want them to focus on what it is that they need to do. And of course, if it's something that I need, you know, their support, I'll bring them in on that. But at the end of the day, I don't want anyone to think that any of my days is easy. I am constantly juggling every single day. You know, people say to me, I've got some, you know, some real diehard fans that are like, "Oh, tell me," like they've got young kids, how did you do it with young kids?
Right.
I can't even remember that anymore, because now they're adults. And you know what I say now is, don't ask me, ask them. Like, ask them and get them to tell you of what they missed out on life because their mum was a career woman. Ask
Really?
them how bad their life was because they had to go to daycare or after school care, or they had grandparents. You ask them and they'll tell you, we're so glad that mum and dad did it the way that they did, because now we are self-sufficient and independent, and we understand life in a totally different way. Had they been, you know, mum had stayed home and not been a happy mum because she was really a career woman, you know. So yeah, it's lovely to be
Strong
able to.
message for so many. I mean, think about how many clinic, salons, and spa business owner women that are juggling with children, and they're thinking, am I doing the right thing? And they've got huge guilt happening.
Oh, kids are going to play you, right? Kids are going to play you. Mum, you don't go to work. I don't want you to go to work. I want you to be here with me. Breaking news, not. They will grow up one day and you want them to be here with you, and they're not there because they are independent. So you teach them to be independent. And like I always say this, there was a couple of rules that I had around my career. One, that if they were unwell or unsafe, you never left. You never leave. Like, you know, they need to be healthy and they need to be safe, and they need to be in an environment where they're feeling love. And that can be a daycare or an after school, because if you're in the right, you know, in the right community with the right people and the right support, they can still feel the love. So you don't leave. And the other big rule that I have, and even though my kids are adults now, I still live by this one: you don't go away on their birthdays. I never want my kids to cut a cake and go, where the hell's mum? Where is she?
Yeah.
You know, and they go, Mum, it's okay. Like, we're adults now. I go, listen, I gave birth to you. That is a day that I became a mother, and I get to celebrate that too, you know. You have to live by what makes you happy. You know, my 16-year-old niece was at a party the other night. Actually, I'd seen her just before. I did her hair for her before she went. And she's like, oh, I said, Annalise, why are you always at these parties and you didn't have a 16th yourself? And my twin goes to me, well, you know, Annalise didn't have a great year at school last year. And I said, last year was 2024, we're in 2025. Tell me what happened. So she starts telling me about what happened. And I said to her, Annalise, why are you at these parties? And she goes, oh, because that's what we do. And I said, can I just teach you one thing? You might not understand it here today, but one day I want you to go, this is what Zia taught me, and I want you always to remember, choose happiness. And she says, oh, that's inspiring. I go, for real? She goes, no, for real. I said, if you choose to be only in places that make you happy, with people that make you happy, doing things that make you happy, you will be happy. Like, if someone says to me, oh, Marie, it'd be lovely to go to dinner together, I might go, yeah, that'd be lovely. Like, we must do that one day. I will not accept that invitation if that's not going to make me happy. I will not choose. Obviously I'm at a time of my life where
You're super busy now, so nobody out there, if you haven't got with Marie, it's not because she doesn't make you
but
happy.
I will be in places that make me happy. My mother used to always say to me, oh, Maria, can't you do without that dinner? Like, you work so hard. Can't you do without that activity, that social activity? I just say to, why don't you say to me, can't you do a day less at work? Why are you suggesting that I should stop doing the stuff that I love with the people that I love? I might have a really big day and I feel like I just want to go home to bed and I just want to cry. But if I go to dinner with people that I love that bring me happiness, it charges.
Changes the
Yeah,
day.
yeah. We don't talk about the problems. I don't go and talk about the problems, but it just reminds me of the stuff that's really important in life, and it just boosts my energy again, and I'm ready to go again. But you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to your head. You have to listen to your body. There are days where, Mary goes, "What are you doing today?" And I go, "I'm going to stay in bed." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, I just want to watch a movie. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do anything. I just need to it's like I need to put my plug into the PowerPoint and I need to recharge, and then I'm good to go again.
I love that. And with all that energy, like you recharging, you actually then decided to use that energy to launch a new brand in Skin Co.
Yeah.
I love all of this is the reason why and the confidence that you have to then go ahead and then build your third brand, this Masstige brand. And you did it at a price point that is more attainable and accessible for people.
Yeah.
And now clinics, salons and spas have this opportunity to be able to give the patients, the clients that really couldn't afford skincare, a skincare that they can see real changes in their skin. You saw and you identified that gap in the market.
Yeah.
What's the courage that actually made you do it? And what's the result? How has it been received?
Yeah, so I think that it's really had to make businesses think, and it scared them a little bit too. There are our own partners that have not taken INSKIN code because they're scared that it will sabotage the sales of Ginger Me or O Cosmetics. The good news is that we can clearly see that that isn't a thing. Thank God, because that was a real worry for me too. But the line of thinking that I want people to really embrace is being a thinking therapist. And now that I have 3 brands, and with GP Dermaceuticals, INSKIN Cosmetics has got 4 incredible brands. So what I want now is thinking therapists. I don't want people, you see it on the forums all the time. I need a new brand. What should I get? Like, first of all, what do you want in your brand? People are going to say to you, you need this brand, or you need this brand, or you need this brand, but there's no criteria. People should be writing on these forums, I need a brand that is Australian made, online protected, natural botanicals. What is it that you need from the brand? What is it that the business needs from the brand? What is it that your customers are asking for? That's the first thing. But the opportunity that we have here is now, I always say, if you think of like the most amazing buffet, like you can go and you'd when you're driving and you go, oh, I just want to have this, I want to have that. And someone says, I want to have this, I want to have that. And there's 5 people in the car and they all want something different, right? What we offer is that buffet that you now, the thinking clinician, the thinking therapist, can say, I'm going to take this, and that's the skin solution. So the goal is to stop talking about brands, start thinking about the end result, and work your way back. And one of those considerations needs to be, what can your patient afford? And if they're saying to you, like they'll say things like, look, I really shouldn't even be buying skincare product because at the end of the day, like I can't afford it. You already know that you need to go towards the Masstige range. If they say things like, don't give me 7 steps, 5 steps, I can't do that. You already know it needs to be step 1, 2, 3, or 4, whatever it might be. So you have to now start consulting with ears wide open, listening to what the customer wants, and putting the skin consultation based on price point, actives, level of actives, derivatives, finishing like product. Do you want like a heavy cream, a light cream, a liquid, or an oil or a balm? What is it that the customer is looking for? And then give them what they want. And then they go, are they going to go and buy their skincare from Mecca or Adoris? No, because they have got a thinking therapist that is working to support skin goals. And we've got to step up as clinicians. We need to step up and listen to the customer and then let them buy. Like I go into Mecca, spend hours there. but I don't buy skincare.
I'm guilty. I buy lots of stuff from Mecca too. But then again, I'm very unique. I use all different brands. I love different skincare brands. I'm a massive skincare brand user. If you look in my cupboard, it's so full, and it's full of every other brand, because I'm just a fan. If you do it well, you have great ingredients, you should be able to. And people want variety these days as well.
They do. They get bored, right?
They
So
do.
when
But
you
they'll always come back and find their favorites. They'll find their best in class products that they love from your brand. And yeah, you've got loyalists. You've got people who just use the whole entire brand. And how wonderful is it when you put somebody on the whole story of the brand, because you know every single product is going to work symbiotically with the other product, so you know the result, right? It's predictable. But some people some people just want to have a flavor of the month product, and get out there.
Right.
And then also you've got 4 brands to choose from. So if someone wants the cleanser from the INSKIN Co, because they find something maybe a bit milder or a little bit more accessible there, and pair it with your Immortal, and then pair it with something from your
Dermaceuticals.
one that I love from Dermaceuticals, the vitamin rich
Root repair.
Oh,
amazing.
right.
Amazing.
So I mean, I'm obsessed with using Immortal cream, and I love the vitamin rich repair. I'll alternate sometimes between the two.
Yeah. I've got that too. Like when I travel, like if someone was to break into my hotel room, they would never know who I was, because they go, "What the hell is all this stuff that she's got?" Like it's everything from all 4 brands. But when you just got to look and say, like, I'm on a plane, I'm in a winter in Ireland or whatever it is. Like, what is it, like the least that I can take that's going to give me the best
impact? Yeah.
And I just wish that therapists would think more like that. And here I am, a brand owner, and I'm saying to you, to go back to that first question that you asked me, Steph, there is not one brand that is all things to all people. And that's why we sell 4 different brands. And if we just stop talking about the brands and start homing in on what the actives are, and that everybody starts to understand that the cosmetical, the functional active, is the only way that you can truly give the results to the patient, then that's really the answer there. And so I've used my personal style of transparency throughout my brands. If you talk to me, I am the worst liar in the world. And if you ask me something, anyone that knows me, like don't have to know me well, you can see straight away that I'm like telling the truth straight away, because I can't lie, I just can't do that. And so that's what we need to really be, is transparent about what we're doing and how we're treating our patients. And I think you can't go wrong. And the Masstige part is really ensuring that nobody leaves your business without a professional skin solution. If price point is the issue,
good one too. Another thing that I thought about, this is what we used to do in clinic. Does this match the philosophy? When a client comes in and they say to you, I can't really afford the full thing that you've just told me. If you don't have a plan for that, you get stumped. So what we started to do is a good, better, best option. Because we don't sell anything that's terrible. We always sell something that's really good. And good, our level of good is good, like it's high, right?
Yeah.
But we divide it into good, better, best.
Yeah.
If you can't find the absolute bells and whistles, everything option, if you can't afford that, we can still do some amazing work and get your skin to where it is. Is that the philosophy? Or am I missing the mark there?
No, you're not missing the market, but sometimes best is the $55 price point.
Right.
Depending on the skin condition and the solution that you're looking for, the best can be there. The highest point can be at the lowest price point, because it really just depends on the skin. And that's why I think it's like the price doesn't dictate necessarily the result on the patient's skin, depending on the patient.
Well said.
So there's so many considerations, and that's why I've got this thing about thinking therapists. Don't just be a therapist, be a thinking therapist. What is best for the patient? And so it's like there's oh my God, like that I could go on about that for ages. But for instance, we put a new vitamin C into the neurocosmetics, into Ginger and Me, and look, I put it into it would have been like a overnight bestseller, and it's now made it such a big difference to the neurocosmetics, because it's like Yes, you know, the SkinCeuticals one, it's just like such an old vitamin C. Well, I basically bought that into Next Generation, still with the ferulic acid, and it's very, very cool. And the results are just absolutely amazing. So there's lots of vitamin C's in cosmetics. There's a couple in Neurocosmetics and there's one in INSKIN Co. What is it that you're looking for? What is the result that you are needing? Because that's where you go, not on the price point, not on the brand name. Does that make sense?
It really does. And I'm glad I asked that question too, because that's about smashing misconceptions. Because a lot of people will sit there thinking, the price point dictates the quality. I don't know if I'm might go down there, but actually you've just completely busted that myth.
Yeah,
That's not true.
yeah.
The option that works best for your client is the best option.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And then when they, you know, when they come in, this obviously Masstige, there's not a lot of Masstige in the industry itself, in the professional industry, but obviously when you go out, you've just got to walk into a chemist warehouse these days, and you know, the amount of brands that are under $55 price point, you got to ask yourself, like, where are those ingredients coming from? I could make all my brands at half their price. You'll get this as a chemist, Steph, if I get the ingredients from China. But that is the ban in our manufacturing process, no ingredients from China.
That's your philosophy.
That
And
is
everybody has one. And that's just to say, if the people align with your philosophy, they will grab your brand. Every brand has a philosophy, and you know, and that works for you and it works for some people. But when you're saying, I want to sit in my truth, this is your truth.
This is my truth. Exactly.
That very powerful words, and it shows that your level of conviction within yourself. And I think that translates to everybody else watching this to say, or listening to this, saying, what's my level of conviction in myself and what I want to do. And you know, it's a gutsy move to go and start at this time as well in Skin Co. Did you think there was room for another skincare brand? Because there's so many.
Look, if you read interviews that I've done from 17 years ago or 15 years ago when I launched Cosmetics, I actually say then the industry needs another brand, like a hole in the head. And I don't change. That is exactly the same answer I'm going to give you today. The industry needs another brand, like a hole in the head. However, if you can find the niche, if you can find the point of difference, if you can make a difference, then there's always room for a new brand.
Okay. Yeah. That's beautiful. And you know what? If you're thinking about starting up clinic, salon, or spa, and you're thinking the same thing right now, and you're thinking there's not enough room, I can't open up a clinic or a salon or a spa because there's like so many out there. If you have a point of difference, if you have a vision and a dream, there's room.
Find the Tiffany bow. Like, you know, every box, every gift looks lovely, right? And then you put a Tiffany bow on it and it's like, haha, that's something that everybody wants, you know? Find that and bring it to life, and don't let anyone dilute your vision.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Steph.
As we wrap up, if you are thinking about exploring the INSKIN Co range, please reach out, because I think you'll be so beautifully surprised about the level of detail, care, and honestly, just everything, how you've thought this brand out is just within, did you say 13? I think there's 13 products in
13 products.
Yeah. And it's so carefully thought out that I would be very confident in recommending that to any of my clients, and feel really comfortable that I would see the results and trust that that person would have a
It
beautiful.
has to be results driven. Absolutely. Thanks, Steph. It's always wonderful talking to
you.
you. You just take me through my journey. Like you make me revisit my why, because it's not a conversation that I have often, or I never have with myself, that's for sure. But when I have these conversations with you, it just makes me realize that you do stand for something. Like you just underestimate the courage that you have and the thought processes and the considerations. But obviously that happens every day, right? And so when I hear myself and the why, it's just like I always say, the why is so important. So never give up on your why, ever.
Thank you, Marie. And you know, I personally needed to hear that one today. Thanks for everyone for listening. It's always a pleasure. And again, thank you, INSKIN, for supporting AVIC so generously and consistently and really wholeheartedly, not just with your financial contribution that you do to support the industry, but with your time and dedication that you do by serving on the council. It is very important, and we are very appreciative of it. There's so many changes happening in the industry right now. that we're here for you and we're fighting for you. So please, if you don't know much about it, tune into the ABIC channels to find out about Marie and the rest of the council and my journey to help you with your business as well.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Marie.
You've reached the end of another episode of the ABIC podcast, your online support community for the aesthetic and beauty industry. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay connected.